In this video, we're going to talk about a very important topic, the perfect and future infinitives. These are covered in the grammar for 4A on pages 199 to 201. Future and perfect infinitives are very, very important in Latin, so please pay close attention. The present infinitive is the second principal part of verbs. We have been learning those all along. To give you an example, from amo, amari, amavi, amatus, amare is the present infinitive. It means to love. From docio, docere, docui, doctus, a verb that means teach, docere is the present infinitive. It means to teach. Loquor, which means speak, has a present infinitive loqui, to speak. Sum, the verb to be, has a present infinitive esse, which means to be. And morior, which means to die, has the present infinitive mori, which means to die. In addition to the present infinitive, however, Latin also has perfect and future infinitives. The perfect infinitive translates as to have exed. Here are some examples. Amawisse is the perfect infinitive from amo, and it means to have loved. Dixisse is the perfect infinitive from dico, and it means to have said. Venisse is the perfect infinitive from venio, and it means to have come. And here's a perfect infinitive from a deponent verb, mortuus esse, from morior, which means die, and so mortuus esse means to have died. By the way, the to in the English translation makes it an infinitive. Like, do you see these to's here? We include these to's here to make it absolutely clear that these are infinitives. The to makes these expressions infinitives. And the have exed part, the have loved, have said, have come, have died, that part makes it perfect. It gives it a sense of past tense, so that makes it perfect. So you need both those things in the English translation to get it correct. The non-deponent perfect infinitive is formed in the following manner. It's quite easy. First, by removing the long I from a verb's third principal part. And then, second, by adding the ending isse. Here's an example. From venio, veniri, veni, ventum, the verb that means to come, we take the form veni and we remove the long I, and we get wane. To this, we then add isse, and we get venisse. This is the perfect infinitive, to have come. Here are some more examples. From porto, portare, portavi, portatus, to carry, we get the stem portao, portao, and then we add isse, and we get portavisse, to have carried. From capio, capri, capi, captus, we get this form cape, by removing the long I from this third principal part. We add the isse, and we get capisse, and that means to have seized. From audio, audiri, audivi, auditus, we get the form audiu from audiu here, from audivi, I should say, and we add the isse, and we get audivisse, and that means to have heard. The nice thing about perfect forms, as you may remember, is they work the same for all verbs. When you're talking about perfect forms, generally speaking, in Latin, all verbs behave in the exact same way. You don't have to worry about individual conjugations anymore. Deponent perfect infinitives are made by changing the sum of the last principal part to esse. This makes sense. If mentita sum means I have lied, literally in Latin what you're saying is something like I am having lied, I am having lied, and that means I have lied. It only makes sense that if you change the sum to an esse, you'll get an infinitive. So it only makes sense that mentitus esse means to have lied. This is to be having lied, or something like that. So just changing that sum to an infinitive creates the perfect infinitive. Do note that the perfect deponent infinitive expresses gender and number. Let me give you an example. Let's say we want to say Marcus seems to have lied. Well, in Latin, that's going to be Marcus videtur, Marcus seems, videtur means seems, mentitus esse, to have lied. Mentitus here has to agree with Marcus because it's Marcus who does the putative lying, and so Mentitus has to agree in gender and number in case with Marcus. Here's another example. The slave woman seems to have lied. Here we would have to say, serva videtur mentita esse. Mentita here has to agree with the slave woman because it's the slave woman who did the supposed lying. And finally, if we want to say the soldiers seem to have lied, we would have to say, milites videntur mentiti esse. Mentiti here is masculine plural nominative to agree with the soldiers, who are masculine plural and nominative. So the perfect deponent infinitive inflects for gender, number, and case. The non-deponent infinitive, by the way, does not. That's just always isse, like ama wisse or wenisse. It never changes. But the perfect deponent infinitive does change its form. Let's look at some more examples of making the deponent perfect infinitive. From minor, minari, minatus sum, we have, which means to threaten, we have minatus aum esse. That's the infinitive, to have threatened. Minatus aum esse means to have threatened. From loquor loqui locutus sum, we can get locutus locuta locutum esse, which means to have spoken. And from ingredior ingredi ingressus sum, we change the sum to esse, and we get ingressus aum esse, which means to have entered. The future infinitive is translated to be going to X. For example, amaturus esse, the future infinitive of amo, means to be going to love. Facturus esse, the future infinitive from facio, means to be going to do. By the way, once again, the to in the English makes it an infinitive. So these to's here are used to make an infinitive. And the going to makes it future. Going to is an alternate way in English of expressing the future tense. We can say, I'm going to go there tomorrow instead of I will go there tomorrow, and it means the same thing. So going to is useful to use because it gets us the sense of futurity. So we say, to be going to X when we translate future infinitives. The to part gets us the infinitive. Going to gets us the future part. The future infinitive is formed with the future participle, which we learned long ago. Let's just review it. The future participle of non-deponent verbs is formed by removing the us or from the fourth principal part and adding urus. For instance, amatus goes to amaturus. Ventum from venio to come goes to venturus. And factus from facio, facere, feci, factus goes to facturus. The future participle of deponent verbs is formed by removing the us from the perfect deponent participle and adding urus. Remember, the perfect deponent participle is that form right before the sum in the third principal part. The perfect deponent participle is really the same form as the fourth principal part in non-deponent verbs. So really we're using the same form to create the future infinitive in both non-deponent and deponent verbs. So from egredior, egredi, egressus sum, we get the future participle egressurus from egressus. And from minor, minari, minatus sum, we get minaturus. The future participle is like an adjective of the first and second declension, like multus, multa, multum. It means about to X, on the point of Xing, intending to X, or going to X. Going to X is my particular favorite translation. So for instance, amaturus, amatura, amaturum, the future participle of amo, means going to love. The future infinitive is made simply by adding the infinitive esse to the future participle. So if we have amo, amari, amavi, amatus, the future participle is amaturus aum, and we add esse to that to get the future infinitive, to be going to love. So literally, esse means to be, and amaturus means going to love. So quite literally, that's to be going to love. So the future participle plus the infinitive esse forms the future infinitive. Here are some other examples. So let's say we have dico, dicri, dixi, dictus. If we want to make the future infinitive, we go like this. Dicturus aum is the future participle from dictus, and then we add esse. Literally, to be, going to say. to be, going to say. And here's another example. From progredior, progredi, progressus sum. We're going to get progressuris aum from progressus, and we add the esse, the to be, and we wind up with to be going to advance. This is the future infinitive of progredior. The end. This has been a Barking Blue Heeler production.